It's not hard to find people who laugh at astrology.
Oh, damn it, Jordan, you cracked me up.
But the advent of the coronavirus pandemic actually stands as a testament to a greater understanding of how the cycles of our universe work. In this video, you're going to discover how COVID-19 is actually a part of a much bigger picture by looking at the cosmic cycles that circles above and beyond our heads.
Oh, really, Jordan? The astrological things that go on around our heady poos. Oh, God. I'm so glad you've taken this step into comedy. It's so much better than your normal drivel.
Even if you think astrology is hogwash,
it is.
Please watch on and see if your understanding changes by the end.
Spoiler alert, it won't.
In astrology, there's something called a conjunction, which is any time that two planets line up with each other in the sky.
I hate to tell you, Jordan, but any 2 points in a Cartesian coordinate system are going to line up at any time. It's a bit harder to line up 3 points because they kind of have to be in a proper line, but you can always draw a line between any 2 points in any Cartesian coordinate system, assuming that you're not dealing with barriers that might be in the way.
Which is said to strengthen the energies of the two.
Energies of the two? Really, Jordan? You're better than... No, hang on. No, you're not. I know, Jordan. You're not better than this. This is going to go to Woo Central, isn't it?
Along with normal conjunctions, there are also great conjunctions, which happen between the outer planets, Jupiter and beyond. 2020 is a year of several great conjunctions, and today I'd like to discuss one in particular, Jupiter-Pluto, which is what's happening right now.
Oh, Jordan. Unbelievable. Look, our solar system is filled with many, many, many bodies that orbit in it. Not just the planets, but asteroids and minor planets, etc., etc. In your astrology, conjunctions count between these minor bodies as well as the planets themselves. And as I've already stated, any two objects are always going to be in a line with each other within a Cartesian coordinate system, which our solar system is. But your lovely little 3 or more bodies, they're going to happen all the fucking time too, because there are just so many bodies within the solar system. So, this thing about there are so many of them in this year, or that they are super special things, is just absolute and complete and utter bullshit. Now, let's look at your Jupiter, Pluto. Jupiter is 5 astronomical units from the Sun. An astronomical unit is the distance that Earth is from the Sun. Okay? It's a long fucking distance. 150 million kilometers on average, which is 93 million miles. A long fucking way. And Jupiter is 5 times that distance from the Sun. And then we get to Pluto, which is 34 astronomical units away from the Sun. So that's a distance between Jupiter and Pluto of 29 astronomical units when they are at their closest. That is, when the two of them are in exactly the same side in orbit from the Sun. And I say side just in terms of looking at the Sun from above and objects rotating around them, because round objects don't really have multiple sides. So, Pluto is 29 times the distance of Earth to the Sun away from Pluto. And yes, Jupiter is fucking massive. But its influence on Pluto is kind of tiny, especially in comparison to something even more massive than Jupiter in our solar system. then that thing is the fucking sun, which everything orbits around. Yes, technically, everything orbits everything else, but the sun is so fucking massive that the barycenter for those orbits is inside the fucking sun itself. The sun is the center of our solar system. It is the dominating force or power within our solar system. This concept that these two things got closer to each other, closer being a ridiculously tiny amount, is going to give them more power than this lovely little source of all our power that's right in the middle of our solar system is just fucking ridiculous.
Jupiter, by its nature, is said to bring expansiveness, and Pluto brings about transformative change, death and rebirth. And also, it makes big things small and small things big.
Really? Small things big and big things small and transformative changes. They're fucking great big hunking clumps of rock and gas and water and shit like that. They do not have magical properties. Pull your head out of your ass and learn about the real world, because the real world is actually way more exciting and fantastic than all this woo shit that you peddle.
Curiously, when we look at the history of Pluto-Jupiter conjunctions, we see this recurring theme of extreme magnification. I'm going to take you through a few key dates and time to show you what I mean.
Translation, you're going to cherry pick dates and times that support your so-called hypothesis, whilst leaving aside everything else that's ever happened in the history of the Earth that just shows that these things are fucking coincidences.
Just so you know, every single date we discuss aligns with a Pluto-Jupiter conjunction.
That's not hard to do, considering, as I've already said, any 2 points in a Cartesian coordinate system are always going to be in conjunction because it's only 2 fucking points!
In 1571, Johannes Kepler was born, a man who devoted his life to the stars, and whose insights would profoundly broaden humanity's views of the skies. Though it's interesting, because even though today he's considered a revolutionary scientist, to Kepler, astrology and astronomy were completely interweaved as one unified system.
Given that Kepler was around between 1571 and 1630, it's hardly surprising that he had some weird ideas about astrology. Because back then, they didn't know everything about what the planets were and exactly how the solar system worked. In fact, Kepler was a pioneer of some of this. His work in deciphering the orbits of bodies around the sun was revolutionary, as you've actually said, Jordan, so you're actually quite correct about that. What you're wrong about is applying the ideals of somebody who lived in the 1600s who didn't have our wealth of scientific knowledge to people who live now who do have access to all this science and information. If you want to go and live in the 1600s, by all means do that, but please do not drag other people down to your level of fucking stupidity.
In 1596, Kepler published the Mysterium Cosmographicum, and in 1608 he wrote Somnium and invented the Keplerian telescope. And in 1620, Kepler completed his 3 laws of planetary motion, the work that would be tremendously influential for modern astronomy, and work that even inspired Isaac Newton to build off of when scientifically describing motion and gravitation.
Yes, because all science is built on the shoulders of those who came before. Science is an ongoing progression. No man or woman is an island within science. We all build upon the work of those who came before to increase our knowledge and better society. The fact that you want to look back to stupid, ridiculous dogma of ages past like astrology and try and say that it has something important to say about modern life just perplexes me to no end. Stop reaching backwards, start working forwards, and stop peddling your woo to every fucking dumbass person out there in the world who's prepared to listen to a dumbass like you talk about dumbass shit like this.
Now, while all of this was happening, in 1590 we see a Jupiter-Pluto opposition, where they are across from each other in the sky.
Hang on a second, I thought you were all about conjunctions, not oppositions. Look, just because these two planets are now on the opposite sides of the sun doesn't mean it changes the way they affect you in real life. Because they don't affect you. Aside from the small amounts of changes their gravitational effects make on Earth's orbit, which, by the way, most of that comes from Jupiter, being that it is the second largest object in the solar system, these planets don't actually influence us. They might influence you, though, because you're a dumb fuck and you're listening to other people who talk dumb fuckery, and you need to shut the fuckery up. Please.
And we have the invention of the compound microscope and the first telescope, although the first patent wasn't filed until a bit later. Continuing in this, in 1623, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, the father of microscopy, was born, and like Kepler, his scientific method was bound hand in hand with his spiritual faith.
So, what? Most scientists back then were part of a religious order, most of them Christians or Muslims or whatever they were at the time, because that was the norm. People still had a belief in higher powers despite having a knowledge of science. Well, the science of the time, at least. Since then, we have grown as people. We've learned that there's less magic and woo in the universe, to the point that we don't think that there's any. We have no evidence for any woo or magic. And we put our trust in the things we can know, and that is science, physical observation, and technology. These are the things that come out of the scientific method, and the scientific method doesn't look into woo and magic because they're not shown to exist.
He became the first person to observe microscopic life in 1657, another Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. In 1663, Robert Hooke popularized microscopic images.
Alright, I've had enough of this. You are going to have Jupiter and Pluto appear on the same side of the sun at least every 12 years, because that's how long it takes Jupiter to do one full orbit. And Pluto takes an awful lot longer to do its orbit, so Jupiter will go around and catch up, and then they end up in line. So you actually get a full three-way conjunction between Earth, Jupiter, and Pluto at least once every 12 years. Now you think about this. Over the centuries that we have had of recorded human history and scientific advancement, you are going to find things that occur on these years. It isn't hard. You are cherry picking. You are being dishonest and a complete and absolute fucking asshole. Jordan, grow the fuck up.
Fairly recently, in 2007, we saw that the New Horizons probe got a gravity assist from Jupiter on the way to Pluto. Literally the most meta transit imaginable.
You want to know what, Jordan? This is probably about the most dishonest one you've got in your entire fucking video. See, the thing about your conjunctions, there's straight lines between these two planets and they're on the same side of the sun. But do you want to know what's really interesting about a gravity assist move between a spacecraft going from Earth to Pluto and using Jupiter for that gravity assist? Is to get a good fling off the bigger planet to get your probe moving faster to get out to Pluto. Jupiter has to be on the same side of the sun as Pluto, because the probe's only going to take another 10 or so years to get out to Pluto. And in that 10 years, well, Pluto actually isn't going to move all that far, given that we're talking about an orbit that takes hundreds of fucking years. So Jupiter has to be on the same side of the sun as Pluto for the gravity assist to work. What do you know? It had to be that fucking way, you absolute fucking dipshit.
So with all of this in mind, if we look at the pandemics of history, we also see that many of them line up with a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. In 1918, the flu pandemic happened while Jupiter and Pluto were in Cancer. In 1981, the HIV outbreak happened while Jupiter and Pluto were in Libra. The Russian plague of 1771 took place while Jupiter and Pluto were in Capricorn. And the Black Death of the 14th century happened when Jupiter and Pluto were in Aries.
Oh, Jordan. There you go, cherry picking again. What about all the plagues, catastrophes, and pandemics that happened in the years that weren't conjunctions? Where Jupiter and Pluto were nowhere the fuck near each other. This is incredibly dishonest of you. You are cherry-picking dates and things that have happened to suit your narrative. You are being dishonest and, quite frankly, a complete and absolute prat. Now, what I think you should do is go sit in that corner, put the little dunce hat on, and think about what you've done. Go on. Go. Right now. Don't make me come over there and smack your ass.
And with all of this awareness, it actually starts to make sense that we're experiencing the coronavirus pandemic during a Jupiter-Pluto transit. But what do all of these alignments mean? Do the planets rule our existence? Are we forever subject to the wheels of karmic fate from beyond our world? Well, no, not really.
I so want to end this here. With Jordan, for once in his fucking miserable little life, actually saying something close to fucking true. I mean, of course, all the drivel he said before is not true, but his final statements, that no, not really. These things don't have any effect on our life. Yes, Jordan, that's exactly the truth. And I know this video goes on for another 6 minutes with you basically countering yourself. But I want to end this here. And I think I will end this here because that's a positive note from you, Jordan. At this one small conjunction of your two little brain cells, you got to a truthism. A true truth. Not a truth as you know it, but a truth as the rest of us know it. Where you actually said something factual. That the orbits of the planets do not affect our lives in any major significant way other than the changes that they make in the orbit of our own planet. Or perhaps, if you want to be a bit more pedantic, in the way that Jupiter can act as a bit of a shield for us for other asteroids and stuff like that that might be heading on the way onto the inner solar system. So, on that actually almost positive note from Jordan, I want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe and ring that little bell so you know when I'm putting out new content. And please, everyone, please try not to choke on the selfie stick.